Okay, so we're at the castle stroke fort of Sarum, just north of Salisbury. And we've just been wandering around here, and Tina's picked up on a woman, medieval woman, Tina?
A medieval royal woman, and
A royal woman.
I'm almost certain that is Eleanor of Aquitaine.
Right, but you haven't tuned into her yet, have you?
Yes, I did.
Ah.
But we stopped, Michael, because people were coming, so we stopped.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, she can come forward now. She spent a lot of time here, and I think she was in the tower, to be honest. Imprisoned. I'm telling you what she's got to say. You ask questions if you want, Michael. She's definitely King Henry II's wife.
Second or first?
King Henry II's wife.
And her name is?
Eleanor of Aquitaine.
And you've confirmed that, have you, Tina?
Yes.
Well done. Okay. And how is she dressed?
She's dressed in sort of a creamy colour robe, all finery, you know, she had sort of pointed hat. Mm-hmm. The early Plantagenet time.
And can she point for you where she was? Why was she here then?
She was here because she set up with her eldest two sons to overthrow her husband and put the King of France on the English throne.
How did that go?
King Louis of France. They were getting they were really well, but something happened, and her husband found out, and that was the end of that.
What happened then? What happened?
I'm not too sure the details, but I know that someone got message to him about his sons and her plotting with the King of France to overthrow the English crown.
Yeah.
And he found out, and so he went to France and got her because they had a home in France.
Okay.
And brought her back here, and I didn't know she was imprisoned in here until we came in there.
No.
I know she's imprisoned, and yeah, and then he imprisoned her.
And what happened to was it her sons, did you say?
Her sons, they begged for forgiveness, and he forgave them, because that was Richard I of England and Henry III, or Henry III of England.
Right.
Okay. But he died young, so Henry III never got to be king.
Right, I'm sure that makes sense.
He died young. He went out before his father died. Okay, but when King Henry II died, Richard I, Richard the Lionheart, became king. When he died, that was King John. That's where we get King John. Okay. Right. King John's mum. Anyway, you asked me for a history lesson. I want to talk to the woman.
Yes. No,
okay.
I'd rather talk to the woman.
She told me she was in this area. She's been in the tower. She was at least for a little while.
Did she say she's in that building there?
Yeah. She said she was, but she's also walking around. Okay, let's see what I say then. She said she thinks she deserved what she got because she did betray her own husband, and she turned her two older sons against their own father. But she said, you know of the history, this is where we did it, because he didn't order Thomas of Becket to be killed, but he was saying something, the knights heard him, and they went off and killed Sir Thomas of Becket, and Henry II got blamed, so a whole of Europe went against him. They wanted him off the throne.
So that was a mistake then?
It was a mistake. He didn't order it.
No.
He was, in court, and he was going, yes, what she's telling me. He was in court, and he was going, that Thomas of Becket, because that used to be his best friend. But he found God. So therefore, he turned against what Henry was doing.
Yeah.
And he just raged up at a table. I can see him put his fist down. And some knights, his knights had caught her with her, and they just went and killed Thomas of Becket in a cathedral, Canterbury Cathedral.
Which is a pretty bad thing
and
to
he was
have
a man
done.
Of God.
And then he was blamed for it. He was blamed for giving the order.
He had to take the blame because, you know, he was talking in court, so, you know, it's just ruthless.
Yeah.
And
like
they went and done it, but they didn't get any comeuppance of the knights. No, they didn't. Because they thought they were doing what the king wanted.
Okay.
Okay, so, because of that very fact, that she ran off to France with her eldest son.
Yes.
Or two older sons, and turned to the court of the French court, King Louis, and they all plotted to get him off because he was uncivilized.
Okay.
But he did go back to Canterbury and made all the monks in there. He got down on his hands and knees, and they flogged him there to death to get his spirit cleansed.
Yeah.
Right, but he couldn't forgive her, so she said she was stuck in this tower for a long, long time. But she said, now in hindsight, I can see why I feel bad because I did betray my husband. Mm. You know, he wasn't a bad husband.
No.
It's just what he did. And because they were still Catholic or Christian or whatever it was, that was a really bad thing.
So she presumes she left her husband at some point.
Well, obviously she had three children with him,
Yeah.
and they were happy until that point.
Okay.
So she's telling me until that event happened with Thomas à Becket in Canterbury Cathedral, where they slew him, decapitated him, waiting in the altar
Yeah.
of a religious place. So
Yes.
because she was French, a Catholic, really religious,
Yeah.
and she couldn't entertain him being with
That
him
was
anymore.
the end of it.
So she wanted him off the throne. She wanted her son on the throne.
Okay.
Okay, so he I don't know how Henry II survived, because he went through a really bad time. The whole of Europe was against him, Rome was against him. He was just really a bad king. Now John might inherited that, seeing that as in his father,
And so he went all the way to France, dragged her back to
Dragged
this
her back to
country,
this country, so that's his wife, yeah.
forgave his children.
If he gave it, no, his sons begged for forgiveness.
Yes, and forgave them.
Yeah, she didn't beg for forgiveness. She just accepted her fate. It's a magpie over there. She just accepted her fate.
And as a result of that, she ended
She was
up.
imprisoned. I didn't know she imprisoned here, but as we come in, I see
And
her
I'm just
walk
going
around.
to pan around because this actually is the tower, the last form of defence in this Motte and Bailey Castle. So she was in here. Was she in
She spent time in there, but
Yeah.
I don't think she was always there.
Yeah, so she wasn't in solitary confinement or anything like that, Tina. She was
No,
out.
she had maids and stuff like that. Yeah.
How long was she in this castle for then?
I'm not sure she died here, but I'm getting at least 5 years.
Okay.
At least.
And what was her time like here in the prison? Did she have a?
I was just refused to see I wouldn't let see my sons or have anything to do with them, so therefore Henry got his own back. That's what she's telling me. I wouldn't let see my sons ever again.
Right.
Or have nothing to do with their lives.
She never saw him again.
No.
So it's almost
kept away from the sons.
quite full.
And John was quite young. She was telling me, and that's why John didn't have that bond with his mum.
We're talking about King John the First.
Yeah, we're talking about King John. That's his mother.
Now I'm starting to picture it all in now, Tina. This is right. Okay, gotcha now.
This is why John.
So we've
didn't
linked
have
up here
that
before,
link
haven't
with
we?
him. Can you remember when he said he went very close to his mother? Because she was.
This is her mum. I didn't
And this
realise
is his
that.
mum.
So we've already linked in with this child, Eleanor's youngest son.
King John.
Right, King John.
The
King John
famous
the
King
First,
John of England,
who lost the king's treasure in
Lost
the
the
watch.
king's treasure in the watch.
Wow. Well, okay. Now I'm getting a picture here. So, okay. So the link with the first son, she wasn't allowed to see
She was
King
very
John's
close
son.
to her first son, which was Henry. We know him as Geoffrey, which is his French name.
Yeah.
Henry was being son of king. Okay.
Okay. So there's a little mystery then.
So Geoffrey obviously had a child. Then he died young of dysentery. We call him Geoffrey because we know him as Geoffrey, but his name is Henry in the books. Okay.
Right.
And she said his name was Geoffrey. That's what he was called at birth.
Yeah.
But because he was son of Henry, next in line, he's going to be Henry III.
Right.
Okay, so now you know.
So
So
we
she's
form
telling-
one.
But she was very close to him and very close to Richard I, the Lionheart. She was
Okay.
very close to him, okay? Even more so than the first son,
Yes.
because he adored his mother and he would do anything his mother wanted. So we went off to France with her, she's telling me, and they plotted to kill or overthrow Henry II, okay?
Yeah.
Which is King John's father.
Father. Yes.
Right, so she was here. But she's telling me she's in remorse because she married him, she loved him, they had these 3 children, they done everything together, and only because he got angry with his ex-friend Thomas à Becket,
Yep.
and the knights heard him in the church and they went and slain him, right? Heard him in the court.
Yeah.
And he got the blame, obviously, because he was king.
Yeah.
And they were his nuts.
Gotcha.
And that's when France was saying, look, we can't be having nothing to do with this English slayer of archbishops.
Yeah.
You've got to get back to your family,
Yeah.
Aquitaine.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's quite a huge family, royal family in France.
Yeah. So she went back to France with
So
her
she stole away to
sons.
France, took her sons, and all plotted to overthrow him. He went through a lot of torture, but his end result in that was going into Canterbury Cathedral. He walked in there with no shoes on, took his clothes off, lay down on the floor on the sacred cross, and let all the monks. And they nearly killed him. They really slashed him.
Is this what?
Both that, yeah, and both a little bit well known in history, but
Yeah.
And they slashed him till he nearly died. And that was his recompense, you know. He gave up his life. And he goes, if I get through this when they stop slashing me, then I know I've been forgiven by God.
Right. Wow.
And he did get through it. But he
Okay.
was ill for a long time.
Right.
Okay. So he got her anyway, got her back away from France, to England. And Chablais, place called Chablais. I think that's what she's telling me. Chablais, is that a place called
There
Chablais?
was a place, but I don't know if it's on the coast or where it is. to be
No, I
honest,
didn't say
if
it was on the coast. It's in France.
Ah.
Called Chablais.
Right.
It was a big house, a big like a castle.
Okay.
Okay, and then she was still, she was. He sneaked over there and got her back. You know, about the.
That was quite a brave thing in a
It was a
way.
brave thing because he wanted his sons back.
Yeah.
As soon as he got them, they were on at his feet, begging his forgiveness.
Wow. They'd soon
Because
quickly
his mother
turn
was a very
coats.
strong woman.
Yeah.
She had the religion back in France behind her, you see.
But they quickly turned.
They turned coats, yeah, and they said, Father, please forgive me. And you know, as time went on, Henry, or Geoffrey, as we know him to be, died young, dysentery, had a son, Arthur, and then he died. Then Richard I, we know he went off to the Crusades.
Now, Arthur, this is one we stumbled across, we believe, was executed because
On
he was the next
Yorkshire.
in line
Yeah.
by King John I.
Yeah.
Right? So, does Mary,
Eleanor,
Eleanor,
sorry, Eleanor,
sorry.
she was
Um,
locked away, so she didn't really know.
Which
what
did she know about it? Did she hear anything about it?
She heard things through the grapevine from the, ladies in waiting and stuff like that, but she didn't. She always said, "How's my sons? How's my sons?"
Yeah,
She knew her older son had died. She knew that,
yeah.
and I don't think she ever met Arthur.
She never knew Arthur.
I don't think so. That's what she's telling me. I didn't know.
And she didn't hear anything.
He got married and they had Arthur. Arthur was quite young when all this was going on, because you got to remember, Richard came next, so Arthur would have been like a baby.
Yes.
So she would never got to see him because
Okay.
she was banned.
Yeah, I just wondered if she'd heard any rumours that could have expanded on that.
She said she knew he'd had a son, but she didn't ever get to meet him.
Okay, okay.
And she didn't know he died. No one went and told her that her older son had died either.
Right. So can she say a little bit about her life before, when she met Henry, how
Yeah,
they met and...
Well, Henry was French, and his mother was Matilda, and his father was Henry I. This is what she's telling me.
Right.
His mother was called Matilda, and Matilda, he was born in France, but Matilda said, "You are going to be the rightful king of England. You're predestined. Your destiny is to be king of England." And he come from France, came over there, had a few battles, and then he became king of England. Okay. His father Henry I was a French king. He was a French king. She was French. They were all French.
Right.
Because you got to remember, this is just after 1066, the Normans invaded, and
Yep.
everything was French. You know,
Yep.
all the royalty and everything was French. And yeah, she fell in love with him. Absolutely, she said, "I fell in love with him. He was gorgeous. He was French, and he was suave, and he was sophisticated, but he was very strong and a bit brutal, and that all excited her." And she fell in love. They got married. She fell in love.
How old was she when they met?
16, and she got married to him, and she fell in love. She had three boys, one after the other.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, a couple of years in between, I think, but
And everything was good and...
everything was good until that Thomas the Becket.
incident, yeah.
And you had France on the back going, "We don't want you. You come back to our family.
Yeah.
We don't want you to be this." They saw him as the devil. How could he go and kill someone
Yeah.
in a cathedral?
Yeah, yeah.
Because that was holy of holiest places.
Right.
Okay. So she loved him, and she realised after she was captured. I mean, he did come and see her a couple of times, but he could not forgive her. But he did forgive his sons because they was his own blood.
Yes.
But he could not forgive her. And
How did she feel about her sons then, who turned their back?
devastated.
Did she ever see her sons?
No.
She didn't see her sons
No.
again, so she
went
was
like-
devastated. She never saw them again. That was her life
Yeah.
gone,
Over.
in that sense, her
Pretty
family
much. And
life.
she was only young. She was only about 30, maybe 32, something like that.
Mm.
And that was it. And he dragged her back from France. And I didn't know I knew he imprisoned her somewhere, but
Mm.
and we came in and I saw her wandering around. She wanted to talk to me, obviously.
Yeah. And what?
She just want us to know that she is devastated because she messed up. And she should have stood by her husband no matter what, because he didn't go and kill the Archbishop of Canterbury. That weren't him. That was some knights in court.
Yes, yeah.
They just
yeah.
went and done it without him knowing.
Without him knowing. So he probably would not have done that.
He would
Tina,
never have done it in a million years. He's
because he obviously felt guilty about even being associated
Yeah,
with it.
he wouldn't have done that. He laid on the church floor
Yeah, so-
in Canterbury, and he thought, "This is it.
So the
and if I
whole-
survive this, God is letting me live." And he
The
did.
whole event with everybody, there was only losers in it, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened then, Tina, when it got to the point where she's been here for 6 years, and what happened to her after that?
Well, I can't see her ever coming out, so she must have died her.
Can you ask her then?
She must have died her. Well, she was taken. She's saying towards the end she was taken from being locked up and allowed to be sort of like into the main house. But she was no, she didn't die here. No, she said no, I didn't die here. She was locked up there for a lot of years, but she didn't die here. Her spirit is here because
Yes.
she got locked up for a lot of years, you know.
Yes. Well, she would have had a strong bond with this place. Not a pleasant one, but a
Absolutely.
strong bond.
But she did, they weren't hell, but it weren't heaven either. You know, that was just she was. As
Yeah,
her kids, her kids were alive. You know,
She had a lot of time to
and her
think about what had
punishment
happened.
was to take her, you know, her kids away from us. This punishment to her.
Yeah.
But he still loved her as well. He still loved her, but he couldn't forgive her.
Yeah.
You know what she did, and he managed to, because England was on the brink of being invaded by Scots and the French and everything. He managed to pull it all back, and become king again, and bring her back from France. You know, and his kids. And then they went on. I don't. Yeah, she didn't die here.
So what happened to her after this imprisonment?
Well, she was elderly and she was just allowed to live her life out, you know.
And whereabouts would that have been?
I think that might have been here or back into London, because I'm seeing London at the end, you know.
Right.
Unless her body is buried in London, I see London at the end, okay.
Yeah. And what can she tell us? What was the high point of her life?
Have my children.
The lowest, I'm guessing, is
Being known what I did. She said I went to my family rather than my husband, and I couldn't forgive him what he did, but he didn't do it. And now in her late, you know, in her afterlife, she's walking around going, I can't go over because I caused so much pain.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't her fault,
Not
really.
really her fault. No, she got a comeuppance, did she? Well, it was her fault, to be honest,
Well,
because she knew her
yes.
husband didn't do in that.
It was a catastrophe of misunderstandings.
Well, she knew her husband didn't do that.
Yeah.
So why was she going and get in France? I want him out. I want to be queen. Or I want my sons to be. I don't want him.
She may have been manipulated as well by the French.
She was manipulated by the
courtiers.
French. She was manipulated by the French royal family. She was.
Mm.
And they were saying, how dare you? You can't get rid of him. You can have one of your sons, you're not having him. Because look what he did. He sacrileged him. But he got his comeuppance as well. But she said, you know, she always loved him and she was always hoping for reconciliation, but he couldn't forgive her.
Yeah.
And he wanted to say to France, come and try it again, you know. I'm King of England now. Come and try it again, you know. Which they didn't, did they? Not in his time, anyway. They tried to when King John was on the throne, but then that all went downhill. Bless her. She's a lovely woman, though. Very delicate features, typically French. Beautiful woman.
Did he remarry?
No, he didn't. You know, he kept married to her. You know.
Yeah.
He didn't divorce or anything like that, but she was like, locked away from her children. And that's the hardest thing. And she said, because of my actions, I lost seeing my kids.
Paid a high price. It was none of it was.
See, in the films, that's all wrong, because I've watched films about Eleanor Aquitaine, and she was there when King John was on the throne and all that, but she weren't. You know, so they've told these filmmakers bullshitting because she went.
And she wanders around here because she's deeply connected with the place.
Yeah, deeply. She spent a lot of years.
And did she see you? How come she's here today?
You were going in over there, and I just saw this woman. I thought, well,
No,
I'll
I'm
get in
asking her did she come? Did she see you? Did she as a beacon of something? To
well, we
tap
saw
into?
it. Yeah, probably saw each other. I saw her light floating around, and then she.
Oh, I
connected.
see. Yeah.
But that's her story, and that's very, very sad. Some of it is out of history books, but mostly is what she now tell me.
Yeah.
We're
more interested.
I didn't realise she'd have a lot of regret because she seemed someone who hated her husband at the time.
Yeah.
According to the, you know, what they tell you, she really hated him. But I think she did because he'd done something so. But he didn't do it.
No.
And he got blamed from all over Europe. Just wanted to kill this king. They wanted to take him out. The Christendom, I mean, you know, all the religious ones. They wanted to take him out, and she said, "I'll do it. I'll get rid of him. I'll take him out." You know. And
What else can she tell us about her life, Tina, as Queen of England?
she said, "I never knew I was going to be Queen of England when I was growing up.
No.
That was a shock." Because she was going to stay in France, obviously.
Yes.
And he was French. He was born in France. She did miss France, and that's why she went back there, because it's her home. And she felt England was very cold, and in court everyone was cold towards her. You know, she didn't feel like she had a lot of people she could rely on or talk to. whereas her family was all there in France. And but her children were alive. As soon as she started, having babies, that was it. She knew these were going to be kings of England. She knew
Yeah.
I've got to bring them up the best I can.
She
These
had
are
a
going to be
role.
warriors, and I'm going to
Yeah.
bring them up the best kings ever.
Yeah.
And she still wanted her kings to be king of England. That's what she told me. But she wanted to get rid of Henry that
Yes.
way. To get him in. But there's a big huge plot, and France started to invade, and Scottish kings. She went to Scotland. She went to Scotland to get the Scottish kings on her side. Everything, to invade England. So the fact he didn't kill her, the fact he didn't have her put to death,
Yeah.
is to say that he did still love her.
Yeah.
Because she really did go to town. Her, the French and the Scots wanted him off the throne for something he didn't even do.
His back was up against the wall, wasn't it?
And he fought back, and he managed to bring. He was at a loss, to be honest, and
Yeah.
he managed to bring it all back together because he knew he was righteous and everything was right. He knew he didn't deliberately go out there and kill the Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas à Becket.
Yeah.
That was just something that someone overheard, went and killed him. Thought they were done the king's.
Is that in history, that, Tina? Or
Yeah,
was-
that is in history, but not all the detail I know told you.
Right.
Yeah, it is in history.
Okay, because I'm more interested in what she's got to say
Yeah,
than
well,
what's
this is
been
what
written.
she's saying. She, this is what she told me. She's
Yeah.
feeling deep regret that she should have sided with her husband, find out the truth, blah, blah, blah.
Different ball game altogether, then,
She said,
wouldn't
because
it?
after he got accused for that, his personality changed from someone who was a good king to someone who was like wanting to get his own back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's what she's telling me. It's all, but she said I knew he was still the same man, but he had this anger and fury because, it was coming at all sides.
He must have felt like he'd been betrayed badly.
Well, he was betrayed, wasn't he?
Yes.
And then she betrayed him. And her two sons, his own two children.
Yeah. But what about John? Now, John was
too young
Yeah.
at the time
Yeah.
when this was all going on. When Thomas à Becket was killed and all that, he was only 6 years old.
Yes.
So-
But her relationship with John. So what did
well,
she think of
she never
John?
really had a deep one because she was all for Richard. Really was her favourite.
Was the favourite? So she had a
But he
favourite.
wasn't the oldest. But Richard was her favourite.
Yeah.
He was the one who did it, mummy. But she didn't have a proper relationship with John. Because she was carted away.
And was she still alive when John became king?
I think she was. I think she lived long.
And what would?
He lacked mother's love.
Yeah.
So he's
Yeah,
seen
we
his
got-
two brothers
we got
get all the
that from John,
attention.
didn't
Yeah,
we?
yeah, that's what he told us.
Yeah.
He told
There
us that
wasn't
before
a
we even
link.
knew about
Yeah.
Eleanor of Aquitaine. He told us all this.
I'm just wondering how John then, if she was still alive, how did she ever see her?
I think she did later on before she went, once she was released and everything, because obviously the king died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, once
then.
she was released and everything, she did, but that was too late to make a relationship because he'd had his father's influence upon him.
Mm.
And his father now turned to John as his only hope because them two had already betrayed him, even though he loved him and forgive him.
Yeah.
He knew
Yeah.
this little lad had never turned his back on him, so
Yeah.
that's a really sad story.
It is a
really
sad
sad
story. It affected a lot of people as well in that time.
Yes, yes,
What
it
else
did.
can she tell us about her life as queen?
As queen, she was a good queen up until that point.
Yeah.
She was loved, by the English people as well as French. She was loved up until that point.
And was the king loved as well then? Was he a
The
loved
king
king?
was loved up until that point.
Yeah,
Up
both
until
of them.
the Thomas à Becket thing.
Yeah.
They didn't blame her, obviously. 'Cause
No.
she didn't do it.
But then the country then must have spun around and
I don't think the English people turned against him because they weren't. I don't think the English people turned against John, but obviously the religion did. Obviously, you got to remember that.
Not John, you mean
they
Henry.
weren't church. That weren't royalty who was running the country. That's church and royalty together.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So if you've done anything to the church, you were like, whoa. Do you know what I mean? This is you got against God. But that was all that what happened, and then everything just turned around. But he went for years, years trying to get his kids back and everything. And he went for years. She said, tell me, he went for a long time, collapsing. His kingdom collapsed, and then he just regained his strength, and he went and done that thing in the cathedral, and he went and got her back, and his children.
Oh, so that wasn't an immediate thing then.
No,
That
No, it
took
didn't
some
happen.
time.
Took some time.
So there's a time lapse
He
between.
sort of had like a mental breakdown, is what she's saying, and she had to get away from him. She said she had to get away from him because of his state of mind. And went to France, but she said I can get rid of him because she wanted her son to be king, and that is all she said. I was born to raise a king,
Yes.
right, and I raised a king. In fact, she raised 3 because they all came king.
In the time that he must have professed his innocence, that he didn't give the order for Thomas
Yes,
to
he
Becket.
did. Yes, he did. But
And
no,
they weren't having it.
no, they weren't having it because
They
that was
just
his
saw it as an
knights,
excuse.
Yeah. They saw that was his knights that went in there and done it. His
Yeah,
top knights.
Yeah.
Right. And he didn't say no, it weren't me, it was them. He never blamed anyone. He took the blame.
Oh, he took the blame.
Because him and Thomas Becket fell out. They were really good friends at one time, but then he found God and became Archbishop of Canterbury.
If he took the blame, then Tina, how does she know that he actually didn't give the order?
She knows now.
Ah, right.
And that's why she's feeling remorse, because
Wow.
after death she saw the truth and thought, shit,
Whoa.
and she knew that she missed out on a life of her children, you know.
What message would she like to give humanity through everything she's been
yes.
through?
Yes, would you like to give it to Queen of England and France? Would you like to give a message out to humanity for today and what we're going through? Always find the truth. Never assume.
Yeah.
Never ever assume. Always find out truth and facts before you even do anything. That's what she told me straight away because of her actions.
Yeah, of course. What's happened
She
to
said, and people just found out before they went steaming over and done things on impulse, then the world would be a better place.
Yeah.
People would get on better because you'd have a conversation around the table. Blah blah. That never happened. You know, she was rushed into making the wrong decision because not only I think it's more because the affiliation with France, you know, was more important to her than her husband.
Yeah.
And he was a good king. He was a good man until that point.
And it was quite a poignant message, actually. It really, you know.
Sit round the
relevant.
table, Europe. Sit round the table, Russia.
Sit round the table.
Don't assume. Don't just act on impulse.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's a different.
Yeah, ball game,
but yeah, that's a good message.
Bless her. She's got a lovely energy. Lovely energy.
She want to go over? Do you think, Tina, or is she? I wouldn't say she's happy to. Or did you want to maybe come back and reconnect?
I don't know about coming back here.
No.
I think she just visited me here.
Yeah.
I think we'd have to find out where she died, and then we can go over there and reconnect with her.
Yeah.
Maybe she's up. We could try if you want, but I don't feel that's.
If you don't feel it's the right time, Tina.
No, I think we've got to find. I think we're going to find more things out. You know, I think.
Yeah.
I don't want her wandering around.
How's she feeling?
Well, she's just she came here because I'm here and she wanted to give part of the story.
Yeah.
I think really her spirit is from France, to be honest, but
Yes. Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it?
I think so.
But she knows that we're going to follow. Was she? Here's a question: was she aware that we had visited her younger son?
Yes, she
King
was.
John?
Yeah.
She was aware of that.
Not until we started connecting. She wasn't aware of it. She's wandering around. Yeah, but yes, she's aware about all that and how messed up he was. And you go, that's my fault. She thinks it's her fault. If she hadn't done what she did and tried to overthrow her husband, then she would
Been a
have had a
different
proper
ball game.
relationship with John. And he
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have turned out to be the weakling he was. He
Yeah.
was a weakling because he never had a mother's love. You know?
Yes.
She loved her other two.
That was the thing that came across. Was he was
And he
very
said
much
that,
neglected.
didn't he?
Felt
Yeah.
neglected.
He said that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll come ask her. I don't know what would you like to do.
If she's not ready, then Tina, then maybe she is.
No, she just said I'm okay. We will connect again. So
Okay.
we're going to meet up at some
do
time
that.
point.
Has she
Maybe in the
met?
story King John when we do that properly.
Yes, exactly. Well, so we're going to pursue that. Has she met any other clairvoyants in her time since she's been in the spirit world? Has anyone else been able to connect with her?
Yes. I've seen her and that. But because we've got a huge background with her family, that's probably why she came to us, you know.
Has she been able to communicate with other clairvoyants?
They've seen her.
Yes, just seen, not
Seen her, yeah, and they've seen her walking around.
right.
But anyway, I'm going to close that down now,
Right.
so I'm getting out of energy.
Yeah, that's a long reading. That's 30 minutes there, Tina.
Oh, damn.
I'll have to give you a biscuit and a cup of tea to keep you
Yeah,
going.
it's going to come 10 minutes.
Well, that was quite amazing.
Yeah,
really.
turn it off.
Okay, well, I'm just.